What's up? It's a review for Legacy View Combo Series. This is Chillin the Green Boss. And today's show, we have a guest from overseas, from Ireland. Our first time having somebody from Ireland on our show. Christian from Unpopular Studios is here to talk about his new Kickstarter and he has going on right now. Man, tell us about dope stuff, because our new perspective, how comics is over there and everything. So you interested in this, go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, everything on this video. You know what, Specks? Go ahead and start everything up.
Alright, welcome back to the hood. This is Chillin the Green Boss with Specks, Thompson interview. And today we got a guest from across the pond. You know, I believe he's the first he's not the first overseas guest. We had others overseas, but he's the first European guest, I believe. I'm not sure, but I confirmed that later on. But I think he is. But we got Christian Douglas on the show today.
I think so. I've been looking at the channel, and I've seen a couple of friends like Greg and all the go from Global Frequency and all that. And I know they're all Americans, but yeah, from across the pond, from the good old island, from the Green Isle, the Green Emerald.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. For people who don't know who you are or aware of what you do, give them a little brief introduction.
Sure. We have a studio located here in Ireland called the Unpopular Studio, and we do mainly comics, novels, and we do a little bit of short film too, a little bit of merchandise, some sculptures, everything related with the IP that we create. That's our main jam. You know, we started something like 10 years ago with our first comic, and this is going to be our 7th one, hopefully, knock on wood, that we release. And we only stopped because of the pandemic. That was it. But we are good to go. You know, that's us. We normally do like edgy stuff. We have several lines, like the auto part, and also something a little bit more, let's call it mainstream or white or whatever you want to call it. And that is this one. But yeah, the whole idea is to recuperate the spirit of the classical folktales. That's what we want to do with the studio. The whole idea.
Cool. Well, since you not from the States, I'm pretty sure you don't have the green electrical boxes that we have over here in the United States. But some places in the United States, you know, from doing this show, I discovered it's not everywhere. But there's these small green electrical boxes. I wish I could pull it up real quick, but it takes long. But we used to hang out around them or chill around them, you know. Came to realize that sometimes it was like the bus stop for the school buses going to school. So I guess in turn, after school, we go back to those same spots, meet with your friends, and hang out.
Okay.
I just made my show based around that same concept, you know, just chilling, hanging out or whatnot, because I've been on a lot of podcasts, listen to a lot of podcasts, and the creators get on there for like 2 hours and talk about one thing, and you never have a reason why to support them or anything like that. So I developed my show so you learn more about the creator and give you a reason why to support them, not only what they're doing at one particular time or what they're doing in the future as well.
No, it's important. The work is important, but also it's important that people get to know us, that we are normal people. You know, we just have this interest and this passion that we've been doing for years. So I think it's a cool idea, a cool concept. I'm Spanish, but I was raised in the States, so I'm like kind of all over the place. You know, now I live in Ireland, so my wife is Chinese, so it's like
okay.
Yeah, I'm a weird person. It's kind of like the definition of the melting pot, you know, for sure. So I'm kind of like all over the place.
Okay. I got 4 different segments on my show, all based around that same concept. And my first segment is called Breaking It Down. Because when you shut around that green box, you break down dreams, ideas, concepts with your friends. So I can break your brain down so people know more about you. So
okay.
With that being said, I guess, you know, growing up in the States and I guess your wife being Chinese, if you could travel somewhere, let's say vacation, you know, and it requires a plane ride or whatever, where would you go?
No, money's not an issue. Distance not an issue. Whatever.
Yep.
I have a trip planned for several years as on my bucket list, and we want to do like across Australia, like on a RV or something like that.
Okay.
like do 2 3 months like open road and see what the road gets at, because if you know a little bit of Australia, first it's a big island. Okay, it's a continent. And the normally the people are in the coasts, both coasts, in the coast, east coast, west coast, and a little bit in the south. But in the center there's almost nothing, because it's a lot of, as a big part of that is desert, big part where a lot of people don't live, and it's full with really dangerous animals and
Yeah.
insects and stuff like that fly. That I don't know if my wife's gonna be too keen about it, but this is something that we dreamed several years ago with my cousins, and we are definitely gonna do that before I leave. I hope before I kick the bucket for sure. So that
Oh,
would be
definitely.
one dream trip.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Growing up, I guess you heard a lot about Australia because Jeff Corey and stuff like that. But you rarely hear about Australia nowadays. Though it comes up every now and then. But I remember like in the '90s, it was like real heavy. Australia, Australia,
Yeah,
Australia. And I think the Olympics was there one time too. I think that was 2000s though. They Sydney, Australia.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
something. It's a place that always attract me because it has fantastic beaches, it has wild nature, it has really cool art scene and really cool stuff, and it's like in away from everything. It's like really far away. It's like really their own microcosm. So some and also New Zealand is really close. So and I would
mhm.
also like to go there. So if I'm there, would like to do like a long trip, but for sure. And the thing with Australia is like we know it's there, but we don't really get any ideas. It's kind of like Asia to a certain degree, so we know that okay, there's a continent, blah blah blah, but we don't we only see a little bit of movie stuff like that. But once it's not, it's totally different. There's something that happened to me when I saw China for the first time. It's like it was a huge culture because you have all these ideas in your head
Mhm.
of how it's going to be, and then when you see it, you say, oh, this is not nothing had in my head. So and even nowadays with the social media and the videos and all that, it's still not the same. You cannot really experience a place until you've really been there like for at least a couple of weeks, like get to know people and get to know how they
Yeah.
move and how they what's their deal, what they're about. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. My next question. What be your ideal dinner?
My ideal dinner. That's a good question. I will say something early, not too late. Something, let's say 7 or something like that, and uh, light, not too heavy. Like something, I don't know, some vegetables or something, not even meat or something like that. So nothing like it's gonna be a problem to go to sleep, and then to have something that we have in Europe a lot, especially like Mediterranean countries, that is called like after the meal, because sobremesa. So it's something like prolongs for hours because you just chat and have a drink, but you don't really eat anymore. So, and maybe you have some wine or not, you have some cider or whatever, and you just talk until I don't know 1 in the morning or something. That would be my ideal dinner, and I have a couple of those. I'm being blessed with a big family and also with lots of friends within that same culture, and that's something that I really like about Mediterranean and European style. And it's not like so much like the States, always like business or hey, we need to do this, we need to go where we're missing this, all this formal thing. Say, chill out, relax, enjoy life, be present, and no worries, man. There's always going to be something else to do. So
Okay, okay, all right. So I guess that comes with Italian culture. I guess with Mediterranean, they always want to
yeah,
eat and
it's
talk and stuff like that.
Mediterranean mainly. I remember that several years ago when I came here to Ireland, I was working with a big group of Muslims, like people from Turkey, people from Iran, from all over the place. It was crazy, and they were very similar to us, to Spanish and to French, because they like to sit, like to have big meals, talk. The only thing we didn't have in common is, of course, the pork, but this is a religious thing. But
Yeah.
besides that, it's very similar because of the weather. The weather is very similar. We like to go. We like to be on the beach. We like to be outside. We like to be loud, be talk, and all that. So it's very similar. So
No.
I was shocked because I said, okay, this is what I always thought that we're at the end of the day, we're just one being. We're human beings. We're not aliens or different animals. Our differences are very, very minuscule in the big picture of things,
Okay, okay. Um, so if you had you said broad fan base going on, so would you say you're more lean towards Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Oof, wow, that's a big one. Oof, let me see. Because I would say that intellectually, I'm more linked to the Lord of the Rings. I love the books. I did the same profession as for several years as Dr. Tolkien did. I was a teacher of literature linguistics, so I'm very connected to that. So from, let's say, from an intellectual point of view, I'm more linked to the Lord of the Rings, and it's based on European mythos and culture and Wagner and all that. But Star Wars is something that I think it has impacted us, everyone, not only like Europeans. Or it has impact. It changed the game. It's one of those things that really, really changed the game. I remember I was watching a documentary a couple of months ago about ILM and how George created the company because he needed it for what he had in his head. He said, "Okay, I have all these things. There's nobody's gonna do it, so let's do it myself. Let's hire engineers. Let's have people who know about photography. Let's have people who know about cameras and about lighting, and let's try to pull this off as much as we can." So that takes a lot of courage and vision and guts to be able to pull that off, and hat off to the man. He really, really delivered. So I think I'm divided in that sense. So I will say half and a half, probably a little bit more Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, so 60-40. But it's not like, hey, I don't like it. Or last week I was watching the Lord of the Rings, the first movie that they re-released. It was like 25 years or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And they put it back again in the theaters. So I said, I'm going to go see this one. And I went to see the long one. So it was like 4 hours there. So I don't mind.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think,
with me, it's more Star Wars.
okay.
I read the books, movies, TV shows, all that good stuff. But Lord of the Rings, I think I tried to read the first book in like middle school or high school, whatever.
Yeah.
The movies, I don't. I think I watched the first one. I remember one of the movies. I remember it was so long. I fell asleep,
Yeah.
woke up, and it was still on. And I still probably had like an hour and two still left in it.
They're still walking, like a friend of mine said. Still walking. Still walking, man.
Yeah, but the games, I did enjoy a lot of Lord of the Rings video games versus I guess
Cool.
the actual like source material and films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The concept and everything is good. I guess just I don't know. It just I don't want to say the storytelling is bad because it's profound story, but like it just
No, it's true that it's more layered. It's a lot more layered. I'm not gonna say that Star Wars is simple. It's not that simple. People think it's simple, but it's not that simple if you really think about it. If you sit down and break it down. But it's true that, and the beauty, you have to bear in mind that those books took all his lifetime. So Tolkien only wrote 4 books. That's it. He didn't do 16 movies. He didn't do extended universe. He did 4 books, almost 40 years. So of course that took a lot of time. He invented languages for the thing. He redraw maps. He created a whole culture. So of course it was a more like a labor of as I was mentioning before, like intellectual enterprise more than entertaining. So I can understand where you're coming from, and it happens to a lot of people. Especially when you want to read books like the Silmarillion and all of that. That's very complicated, hard, even for a person that is used to books, to reading. But hey, I think that Peter Jackson did a fantastic job with the first, especially with the first trilogy. The Hobbit, I'm not too keen because he just extended to make money. I don't really understand that part.
Which Hobbit?
The Hobbit, the Hobbit, they did 3 movies. The Hobbit is just 1 book. It's the book that's before the Lord of the Rings.
See, I never watched the newer Hobbits. I've seen the anime one from back in the day.
You're not losing anything.
Okay.
Because they invented things and they added things and they prolonged a thing that was 1 movie. They make it 3 because, of course, money.
Yeah.
So it's like the Matrix, stuff like that. Hey, okay, we have this idea for this thing. It hits hard, and oh no, now you have
They
to
keep
make three.
milking. Yeah, keep milking it.
Of course, yeah, of course. This is it's making a lot of money. So yeah, and I think that you like cinema. That's what they did. They said, okay, you want to do it because he wanted to do it. Okay, you have to make 3 movies. One not enough because
Yeah.
we want to make tons of money. So three is always going to be easier than one to make tons of money. So that happens a lot. So that's a business decision at the end of the day. But I think that is the only thing that is on the negative side a little bit. Not they're not as bad as the new horrible series, the Rings of Power, but that's a different cash cow. They want to do it in a different way. Now they want to put inclusion and the message and all that. So
Yeah.
and of course it doesn't hold up at all because that's not the material to do that.
True.
He wrote those books back in the 50s and 60s, so this is like a long time ago, dude.
Mhm.
So forget about that. Because you destroyed the lore and all that, and it's something that's happened to Star Wars too a lot. Because at the end of the day, when they come so big, it becomes an IP, and everyone wants a piece. Especially big company want a piece. And of course, when you have something like that, it's complicated.
Yeah. True. All right. Well, that's all the questions I got for that segment. I can move on to my next segment. It's called the back issues. Being in comics, you should know all about the back issues. But people don't know. If you want to know about a person's origin story, you read their back issues to find out more about them. And so, like, you want to know about Kate Bishop, find out who she is. You read the back issues of Hawkeye to find out more about her origin story. So in this segment, we can read your back issues, find out more about your origin story. So with that being said, where are you from and what do you call your hood?
I was born in South America. As I mentioned before, I was raised in the States, and then I live in Europe for the majority of my life. So it's complicated. I'm from the Earth. If you want to have a quick a question to the answer to that question, and which place I call my hood? Oof, that's even more complicated. There are so many places that I feel at home. I feel at home here in Ireland. I feel at home in Spain. And there are certain parts of the States when I go, I feel at home. Like I live in New York many years, so I feel at home in New York a lot. I feel at home in places like Italy. I feel at home at Morocco. So it depends. It depends a lot of what you call home. But yeah, for me, it's a very complicated question, that one, because I'm been all over the place, So there are parts of Asia that are also called home. They're fantastic. I highly recommend people to visit because they're beautiful, incredible, cheap. People are nice, wonderful food, excellent places to watch and culture to visit. And they're not as massified as other places. So I don't know. I think home is the earth. I remember that I heard Bill Maher's a couple of months ago that he has this whole issue that we shouldn't go to Mars because Elon wants to go to Mars and blah blah blah. No, we should stay here. This is a nice planet, dude. And I kind of agree with him. If you go outside of it, it's like death and emptiness and nothing.
Yeah, my girl, she always says, if we're supposed to be out there, God would have put humans on the planets anyway. So it's a reason why we're here and not there.
Of course. And there's this whole theory that we started in Mars and that we came here many years ago. So there's a lot of theories about that. So I think that we have to enjoy this place that we have, and we are blessed to have some wonderful planet like this one.
Yeah. Earlier in the interview, you said you were Spanish. So I automatically assumed you meant you're from Spain. But you said you're born in South America. So where in South America was you born?
I was born in Venezuela.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wasn't raised there. I left when I was 4. So I kind of have vague memories. I went back a couple of summers when I was 14, 15. I haven't gone back since then. So yeah.
So are you Venezuelan?
Not really. There's something that appears on my birth certificate, stuff like that. But I don't really. No offense to my peeps, but it happens if you are born in one place and you are raised and you live all your life in another place. It's very complicated yourself to really call yourself that you're from the other place, So it's especially if you live in like me, all over the place. It's very complicated. I still have some family there, but it's something from a different life or a different planet for me, totally.
Okay. I was gonna ask you like how did you? That's a long trip from Venezuela to New York to
Yeah,
to your
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um. So
A lot
yeah, I
of
mean,
planes, a lot
but
of planes.
each one of them trips had to be a culture shock too, as well, right?
What I mean, quarter shop. I don't understand that part.
A culture shock.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Both all of them were culture shocks. That when I was little kid, I didn't really. For me, it wasn't a culture shock because when I came to be a person, I was saying because when you're little kid, you're not really a person, you're just like a monkey, just learning new tricks.
Yeah.
But when I started to be a person, I have some conscious of where I was. It was a state, so for me that was normal. And then when I went to Europe, for me it was like, oh, what is this? And then when I went back, because I'm from a very small place in Spain that's called Tenerife, that's one of the islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in front of Africa. So that is like very different from Spain, from like Madrid, Barcelona, places that people see. So being there was a huge culture shock because I was coming from New York and then I landed there. It was like, where am I? You know, this is yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I went to actually Europe, another culture shock. And then when I came here to Ireland, it was a little bit less because I was older. But when I went to Asia, also huge culture shock. So yeah, I have a lot of culture shocks. I got better with time, got
Hmm.
used to it. As I would say that as long as you have a place to crash and have access to food, you're gonna be good, man.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
we're supposed yeah. We have to be less comfortable, and that's a good thing also.
Being well traveled and whatnot. I assume you listen to music on those trips. But
Sure.
what got you liking music or liking a certain kind of genre of music? Like what song or artist got you liking music?
Ooh, for me, it was hip hop,
Mm.
rap. Before it became something fashionable, being New York, that's the only music people listen. That's it. That's
Mhm.
like rap and salsa. So with my people, Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. So that was the two genres you heard. Nobody else heard anything else. I know a little about rock because of my dad, but our generation, that was the only music. Was like, of course, Cypress Hill, Wu Tang Clan, and Dr. Dre, obviously, Snoop Dogg, the greats.
Yeah.
Nas.
Okay.
That
Okay.
really, and of course, everybody who came after that. Eminem and
Yeah.
Wally Pan, etc., etc., etc.
Okay. Okay.
Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being in comics, some of you read comic books or watched some comic book related TV show growing up. So which one of those got you into comics?
I got into comics. I'm gonna say very late in life. I got into comics when I was 35 or something like that. Let me say I went back to comics because when I was a little kid, of course, like everybody else, we read comics. We read, the X Men and Superman and Spider Man, etc., etc. But then when I came to puberty, let's say 13, 14, I realized that if I keep doing it, I was not gonna be successful with women. So I said, okay, out. You know how it is. Not like now that hey, everything is mainstream, everybody
Yeah.
knows who Iron Man is. But if you do something like that in the '90s, you were dead. But now what? Comics out. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So nerd.
Yeah.
So I stopped, and then I rejoined the genre when as I was mentioning when I was 35, something like that. When a friend of mine,
When it was
he
safe.
knew, yeah, a friend of mine knew that I was gonna, because I come from theater. I did a lot of theater. I studied theater. I even did some cinema stuff like that for years, and he knew that I was going. I was always been writing all my life. I've been writing for 30 years. So he told me, "Why don't you try this?" And he gave me Dark Knight, Frank Miller, and
Okay.
I
Okay.
say, "Okay, oh, this is comics now." So yeah, it's had changed a lot since the '90s.
Yeah.
Like
Darker.
a lot. And he gave me Sandman and Watchmen, and I said, "Oh, okay, damn, this is good. This is good." And then I realized it's an art form. It's whatever the writer and the artist can imagine or can think of, you can put it on a piece of paper. So that's crazy,
Yeah.
and that's something that we always try to also when in our studio to do. We have a little bit of things for all ages, but it's not our biggest genre at all. I think that's too much competition there. Too many superheroes, too many people writing for children. We want to write for teenager and adults. I think that's our jam, and that because we think there's something missing there. It's
Okay.
a huge gap.
Okay. Typically, my next question would be like, when did you find out she was a nerd? But you told us when you about 13, you like you had to cut that out. So
Yeah,
I guess around that time that you find out he was a nerd.
yeah. No, 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 no. That's when I would say that's my dark period. That's when I went into rock and hip hop and I grow my hair long and I paint my nails. So I said, no, no, that was okay. This is out because it's gonna be
Yeah.
complicated. That's my theater years, when I was
Yeah.
when I was in that.
I should many times I bring it up on the show. I should trademark this term, but I call that period of time that you experienced. I call it the nerd gap. Um,
Okay,
um, if I want to do
I don't know.
some numbers between guests on this show, I'll say probably 87% of guests experience that gap. For almost the same reasons that you said. If you had that Spider-Man book in your back pocket, you're not gonna have no no girls. So and I
Correct.
experienced the same thing. Happened in high school. Uh, maybe eighth grade, maybe same time you did, maybe same,
Yeah.
but
Right
not
before going to high school, I would say like eighth grade or
yeah.
something like that. Is that no? This got to go. Got to go.
Yeah. So I'm definitely younger than you. So, uh, right when I got high school, manga started coming real popular.
Oh, okay.
The Shonen Jump, those magazines start coming over here. So like, I wish I still had them, but like I had the Shonen Jump magazine with like the first Naruto, the first Yu-Gi-Oh, the first that stuff. So right now that probably worth for like a lot of money, but
Tell me about
not me not knowing how big something would be, and I remember having those and like then not just not watching anything. I watched like the movies, coming out. Of course, you're going on dates, hanging out with friends, you go to the movies.
it.
But
Yeah.
like reading comic books, playing video games with the complicated shit. That's the past. But
Yeah.
TV shows and whatnot, like a show I'm catching up on now that I totally missed, but everybody loved it. Was the Star Wars Clone Wars show
Yeah.
uh,
Okay. The
that came out?
Filoni one.
Yeah, that came out around my nerd gap, so I missed that.
Yeah.
And I brought out Naruto. I missed that whole popularity with Naruto. Everybody loved Naruto because I was experiencing like um little older. I started using Wikipedia and stuff to find out more about comics. My sister had bought me this CD-ROM. It had a hundred Spider-Man comic books. That was like kind of my stuff
Okay.
getting back into comics. But I think my first getting back in comics was New 52. I think the New 52 got me back in comics when I got rebooted DC Comics. I think that was me coming back into comics and stuff like that. Just I don't know, it was interesting for me to see like Superman, not have his powers and stuff like that. That was interesting, and I guess like a older Batman. I like that dynamic, and I think they had Superman date Wonder Woman. Thought that was pretty cool, like stuff
Yeah.
like that.
No, I still remember when things like Blade popped up and was like, oh, okay, so this is comics now, okay. Or when first Spider-Man popped up, Sam Raimi, and I said, okay, well, this is cool.
Mhm.
But was already an adult, so it wasn't. I wasn't like reading comics. It was watching movies, which is different.
Yeah, I said the
So
same.
that's
Yeah,
something that people confuse. Well, no, the MCU is comics. No, the MCU is movies. It's not really comics. Comics
yeah,
is a different thing. But it's based on those, but they change it a lot because it's a different genre, it's a different medium, and of course a different audience. So you want your target is different. So it is and it isn't at the same time.
yeah. Going by that statement, each one of the programming for MCU would be like it's superhero because in that world, but like you got the Captain America movies. That's more like spy conspiracy movies. Ant-Man heist movies. Um, Guardians of the Galaxy and space operas and it's stuff like that. It's different, and people overlook that. Like, is those look Doctor Strange is supposed to be like a thriller movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, of course. I understand where they're coming from in that sense and how they plan it. Especially when you're at a company like that, you need to plan things out, especially when you have that kind of budget and how they want to do it, want to integrate everything and want everything this to do with that. So it's kind of like same similar model than the comics that hey, you need to in order to understand, you need to read this and you need to know about that. So they did something similar to with the movies. The thing with that, the thing that broke it is what we were talking about before is the milking thing. So hey, you have 10 glorious years. You make all the money in the world. Calm down. Take it
yeah,
easy. Chill. Go to the beach. Relax. Have a
yeah,
break. Go on sabbatical. Take a long trip. Take a hike. Do something. No, no. Now we have all these things planned. What are you doing, dude? No, 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 no. Let it breathe. It's like the earth. When you plant something and you collect the fruit of your labor, you have to let the ground rest a little bit. You cannot start again. Oh,
yeah,
no, because you destroy it.
yep,
So it's the same with everything. That's why, for example, we only do like once a year or twice a year we release things because in only we could do it a little bit faster, but why? We also want to read other things, want to see other things, want to so why we need to all the time, all the time? No, 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 no. No. That's I call that the spaghetti model. It's like you throw a spaghetti to the wall, see which one sticks,
yeah,
and but you're still throwing spaghetti. That's not no man.
yeah. You're wasting noodles.
Yeah, you're wasting energy, you're wasting time, you're wasting people's resources, and less is less is more. The Tai Chi says, and so you want to achieve more, do less.
Yeah.
So that's true.
All right.
Concentrate.
Yeah. That's all I got for that segment. To my next segment, it's called the hotkeys. And now being in comics, you know all about hotkeys. It's normally when a new artist writer get on board a project, a new character get introduced, or nowadays a new storyline get picked up for one of TV shows or movies. So in this segment, it's like the meat of the show. So everybody knows what you do and what you're about. So with that being said, first you said you was you've been writing for like a while or all your life. What were you writing?
I wrote a little bit of everything. I started with poetry when I was like 13, 14. I went to short fiction. Then I went to a little bit longer fiction. Then I did theater. Then I did some cinema. And then I went back to theater. And then I did again some short fiction. And then I started with the comics. So I've been all over the place. Whatever. I would say that writing is a medium to just express. The only thing you have to see is where you wanna do. Oh, and also I've done animation too. So I've been all over the place with that toolbox. And so depends on the time, depends on what you're feeling or what you want to express or where you are mentally and how you prepare to do. So yeah, I think almost everything that you can think of. I've done. I wrote it, and sometimes I direct it, sometimes I produce it, sometimes I give it to somebody else to do it. So yeah.
Um, how vastly different is the short, long fiction stuff you did compared to the theater stuff or the comics, I
Uh,
guess.
well, they're totally different beasts for sure. For example, I give an example. On theater, I did a couple of musicals, like famous one like Grease, stuff like that, Les Miserables, and the Dangerous Liaisons. And but the one that I wrote was like based on philosophy. So imagine, so it was a mockery like an homage to Sophocles, homage to people like Kant, and then we created those. We took those his ideas and put it in the 21st century. So and we also did like Virginia Woolf, which is Tennessee Williams. So we did. It was depending of the year, depending on which project we have, which people do we have, or where we're gonna present the material to. Also, what the producer says there was something that we could do that was viable, commercially viable, quote unquote. So it was very different. In comics, it's been more like what I want to tell in the moment I want to tell it. That's why I went the route to say like just publishing and doing my own thing, doing my own studio. So, and it's true that you still have to listen to your readers, but not as much as when you have like a commercial enterprise, or like a theater company, for example. It's like 30 people, 40 people at least. That's a small theater company. So you have the people from lighting, from music, from the stage manager, and all the actors, and makeup, and dressing, and so it's a huge thing. So of course, a lot of people depend on that you, in the livelihood, that you do it something correct. And this is, as you know, comics is more a smaller enterprises, three, four, sometimes even one person, enough. So that's something I love about the medium. So, but I always say that I adapt, because when I work with animation, it's different too. I work under a supervisor or a art director. That's the one with the vision, or a writing team and stuff like that. So it depends on which hat you're wearing at the same time, and for example, poetry was something, everything about, your express yourself and being seen and have these colleagues. And short fiction was mainly for like for contests and stuff like that, or to be seen and to try to pick up a deal to make a script. And the cinema was something similar to that. Hey, so who we can attract that can sign, so we can produce this. So it's all hats are different, because the way each industry works is completely different one from the other.
Okay, okay. So how long have you been doing comic books?
I'll say 10 years, 10, 12 years. The first, we just re-released our first comic, and it was the 10-year anniversary. So they say 12 years I've been
Okay.
into comics. Yeah.
Uh,
Like
in them 12 years, how many comics have you put out?
7. I've done 4 myself, and I've been part of other projects 3 times. 2 in the States and 1 in Spain. So this is with my 7th, my 8th book, to be completely precise. Yep.
Over here, we have I guess like the mom and pop conventions, and as well as like the big conventions like San Diego and New York. How is it over there? Like, how's your conventions or getting your books out over there?
And we for example, in Ireland, we have the biggest one is Dublin Comic Con. We have 2 a year. We have one in March, one in August, and
Hmm.
there are a couple of small ones. Like one in Waterford, there's one in Cork, there's one in several of the cities, and then the biggest ones are in the UK. So our neighbors. So obviously London, but you have Manchester, you have Liverpool, you have Birmingham, you have the Midlands, and Sussex, Essex, and all those. And so it's a lot. And then you have in the continent, the big one is the one in France, the Angoulême. It's a very small town. And you have, of course, you have in Paris, you have in Italy, you have in Spain, you have in Germany. So all over the place, all the continent has different comic cons. The thing is that each country is a little bit different, because culturally the comics are seen either as a literature or more like entertainment. So it's a different thing. And I've been to a couple of ones in the States. I'm gonna be in New York, for example, in October. Knock on wood, from CC. So yeah, it's a different beast in every country.
Uh, so with that being said, like, is it different strategies? I guess the once you get your booth or whatever you're selling your book, is it different strategies to get it out into people's hands? Because you said like one might be entertainment, but one might be literature. Then states is totally different. Uh, so what's the different strategies for like what like how do you change it up? Like,
It's important to have a catalog as wide as possible, as big as possible. For example, we have comics, we have novels. Comics, we have different, like, from different age groups, and novels the same for different age groups. And then we have also like merchandise that we target different people. So it's important that you do a little bit of research. You talk to other friends, colleagues who have been there before, also to pair up. We normally, when it's a big one like New York, we always go with somebody else. We don't do it ourselves, because it will be way too much work and it will be crazy spending. So depends on where you're located, and of course to document yourself. Hey, so as you mentioned, or maybe this. I give an example. Some years ago was the WonderCon. WonderCon is the convention that is for the Hugo Awards.
Yeah.
Okay, and each year is a different country. And we were lucky that some years ago was in Ireland. So I said, okay, we need to go. So there we took mainly the novel, and then we did a couple of things with the comics. Like, oh, it was not the important thing. The important thing was the novel. The novel's everything that went to know, because that's what people want. People want to read long stuff,
Okay.
and that's what they go for. And we also need to have, like, for example, the people didn't like to buy the actual book. They want to have something digital because, of course, they have like 300 or 400 people. They're not going to buy 400 books because you don't have space for that in the suitcase. So you need to have digital stuff like a card or something they can load, a QR or whatever that they can buy, they can download afterward. So that's something that we learn is by talking to people who have been to that kind of conventions. And also by seeing, hey, what are they doing? Who else is there? And you need to, it's very important, you need to be very adaptable and need to uh, of course, without betraying what you are, what your studio is about, or what your seal is about, but also being knowing the audience, because at the end, audience is king. Who pays is king. That's without them, then it's a hobby. So if you want to make it as a hobby, okay, then you whatever you want. But if you want to make a living out of it, you need to be very aware of who is your client, what do they want, how do they want it, what do they care about, and I won't say pander because that would be a little bit too much, but have that in the back of your head when you're planning things.
Okay. 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 Right now you have a Kickstarter going on. Let me pull up. You gave me a PDF for it.
Yeah,
While I'm pulling up, give people the title and a brief introduction of the project.
sure. Is the Popular Tales Volume 2 is Pinochia. Pinochia like Pinocchio, but female. And it's the issue 1. It's going to be 4 issues. This is the first one we are trying to fund now. And the first arc is mainly the presentation of the character and the presentation of some of her friends. The whole idea of the novel is of the comic, sorry, is what will happen if the Geppetto, instead of being a puppet maker, was a robot engineer, and Pinocchio, in this case, Pinocchio will be a little girl that is a machine too. So, and in the context of post war between man and machines, and of course, and we lost. The machines are king. Uh, so, what will happen if a man created a machine in order to reestablish some peace, some harmony? So that's the whole idea behind the book, and it's beautifully illustrated by Claudio Sanchez. He's a fantastic illustrator from Spain, traditional artist, pen and paper, physical, except the colors. That the color needs to be done in computer because the printing wants to kill you. But everything else is done the old-fashioned way. So we're gonna have perks about that, and like original pages and sketches. So we should definitely check it out. Just as I mentioned before, Pinochia with 2 C's, Pinoccchia, Pinochia, and Kickstarter. Hooray!
So is this a post-apocalyptic thing, or
Yeah,
is
it's
it or
cyberpunk.
the my next question, or the cyberpunk?
Yeah,
Okay.
cyberpunk, dystopian. So if people like things like Ghost in the Shell or Mad Max or Alita Battle Angel, obviously they're gonna love this one because it's that by the same spirit. And so it's a lot of action, a lot of adventure, but it's also a little bit of, hey, what makes us human? Why we need to save the species that's so egotistic sometimes and so mean? So do they deserve to be saved? All that. So there's a lot of reflections inside the book, and we wanted to make it a companion for that, like to have a little bit of philosophy behind it, a little bit of script behind it, and also a lot of action, a lot of fun moments and fun characters. So it's a combination of. I would say that if you put it in the same mixer, you put Alita Battle Angel, you put Blade Runner, and you put something like Akira and Mad Max and Ghost in the Shell, and you shake that, and Bicentennial Man and iRobot and all that, and you shake that, that's Pinocchio.
Okay. Just browsing through this, I seen you say it's in 4 different parts. So it is an
Yeah.
anthology project.
Yeah, it's gonna be a trade back. That's the one to have. So it's gonna be at the end. It's gonna be something like 130 pages, 140 pages. But we're releasing it one by one, mainly because money.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
Um.
that's the cover. The cover is done by a fantastic artist, David Benthal. It's a guy that just finished working in Alien Romulus. So he's a hugely international artist, and he's making a fantastic work with the
Yeah.
cover. That's
Yeah.
gonna be number two.
Yeah. It looks dope.
Yeah.
Um. What else I know is it the training montage. I guess this was up here. Is that like a Mario reference?
No, the that guy, the big robot, we call it. Is his name is Little Man, and is that this is gonna be an old reference that a lot of people are not gonna get, but no worries. Hold on, hold with me. This was an old movie from the '70s called The Bad News Bears, and it's a movie
Baseball
about
movie.
yeah, yeah. This team of kids that are all misfits and they lose at the end, but they play hard. So that character is based on Engelbert. Engelbert is the catcher. He's
Okay.
the big guy. So I wanted something like that. So a guy that don't speak too much, but every time he speaks, something happens. And he's a big guy because each of the robots has a different function. For example, the one that you see there, the Asian, that's E2. That's not really it's not a person. It's not live. It's not a thing. It's just a program in her head. Like
Okay.
like in Star Trek that they have these battle scenes and this battle. Well, in X Men, the room where they train. So
Danger room.
exactly, the danger room. So he's a program inside her head to teach her how to fight, to teach her how to defend herself, to teach her how to be good with a clip and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then you have Ishtar, that's the girl that you see there with the pink hair.
Yeah.
She used to be an ex sex worker robot, you know.
No,
And
okay.
then you have Lex, that's a small guy, and that he used to be one of like kind of like a vacuum personal assistant from the house and to watch the kid. So each one had their own past and they have their own attributes. And she meets them in the dumpster because that's where she was created. She was created in a dumpster in a bunker for decades by Geppetto. Before in secret because nobody can knew that number one there was a human there, and number two he was creating something that can disrupt the whole world as it is in that sense. So this will be something like in 200 years in the future. So
Okay.
after the war of the man and machine, men have lost, and Geppetto is like a child from that era, and is after he grows and goes older, that's when he creates Pinocchio to give a little bit of hope to both not only to humanity, also to the androids, to the artificial intelligence and that camp. So yeah.
Uh, what made you want to develop this project?
When I started the studio and the comic line, I wrote like 5 or 6 reimagination of the classical folk tales. I have Red Riding Hood, that's the first one we published. I had Beauty and the Beast. I have Hansel and Gretel. I have Pinochia. I have so several, and the things that we are allocating them with time. And the thing that I love about Pinocchio is that it's science fiction, but science fiction, no like hardcore science fiction, very very deep and all that, but also with a little bit of action and stuff like that. That's why I wanted to delve into that. Before our previous project, before this one, is Punk Droid, that is an anthology, cyberpunk anthology, and we released a couple of the stories that I did there are in this universe. So they're like small pieces of that universe. So you can locate it to see exactly where we are, and that's why I think that I work in IT, and several years when I came into Ireland, I was working for a big company. I was working for YouTube, and the things I saw that they were developing, and this is 8 years ago, I cannot even think what they're doing now. I can even like imagine. So there's a lot of things coming on the pipeline. I don't want to scare anybody, but it's a lot thing coming, and we're gonna see it because when I was younger, I thought there's gonna be something that my kids will see, but I think we are gonna see it.
Yeah.
This is gonna happen anytime soon, very soon.
Um, um, touch on two things that you just said. So the first one, the reimaginings. So
Yeah,
I have a reimagining that I want to do. I don't want to say it on camera. I don't want to steal it, but it's basically a reimagining of a Charlotte's Web. I have a concept of. So how do people feel about a reenact like this Pinocchio instead of being a wooden guy from I don't know 1930s, 40s, whenever it take place. It's probably longer than that. It's probably the
no,
1800s.
it's from the beginning of the 20th century, before the First War. I think it's 1912 or something like that.
Okay,
The original story.
yeah. So being that classic story, then you fast track it 500 years to be before that. So how does the reception of like reimagining of popular stories like that? How do people feel about that?
I think it's important that these stories are popular and they become part of the folklore for a reason, because they're very well written, very well structured, and they reply to very hardcore and inner values that all human beings have. That's why they have prolonged, and we all know it. Yeah, of course, Disney made a big contribution to that. But before Disney, there were the Green Brothers, there was Hans Christian Andersen, there was all these people were alive, okay, and they were doing things for centuries until Disney came and or Marvel came or whoever came. So
Yeah.
so they are there for a reason, because they speak to people to in a certain way. Why we did that? We wanted to have something that it was that you can play with it, and also it was easy for people to recognize. You don't have to give them all the context. Oh, this is dystopian, and this is this world, and this is happening, and this already happened, and this and this and this. And no, people know the character. The only thing what you're doing is you displacing it from that original setting with some of the traits that the character has, and you putting them in another place. I remember that I saw one of the first time I saw that was in Hellblazer Constantine, when he was when Warren Ellis did a run. Did I think he did like 12 numbers or 20 numbers, something like that. Not too many. It was one paperback, one trade back. And what he did that he put Constantine, which is a guy from the UK, from Manchester, so very like all continent, and he put it like in the south of Louisiana or something like that, and he used the character to talk about that reality, the voodoo and the black magic, and that the bayou and all that. So that's I said, okay, this is when I remember what I read, I said this is a good idea. So you have this character that people know that they know how he acts, but we're gonna put it in a different context to see how he reacts, and what we really are interested is telling this story. So
Okay.
we're using him as a vehicle, him or her or whatever, or it, as a vehicle to tell you this story.
Okay. All
So
right.
I think that was the whole idea. That's why we use those classical folk tales and to put them in a different context. For example, the Red Riding Hood, we use it to talk about violence against women, for example. That's what we took the character as this strong woman that she has, and she works with a lot of other strong women that, and it was talking about that. That is a was a topic, current, a very big topic back in the day when we wrote it.
Okay. Okay.
So, and again, these are universal things. It's things that happens all the time. And the same is gonna be the same with the machines, because this is a project that I wrote like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So it's not like I did it when ChatGPT came along and stuff like that. It's not, it doesn't work like that. So because I thought that was something very important to tell, it's a good story and a cautionary tale of what can happen if we are not paying attention, if we're not conscious of what is coming.
With with that being said, and I don't want you to be a whistleblower or anything that you say you think was coming, but like AI, of course, it always been out. People just didn't know the name of it, just like COVID. COVID been here, but nobody knew it was COVID-19.
Yeah.
Um, with that being said, you think we gonna get over the fear of it, or you think it's always gonna be a fear of the AI?
No, I don't think people have. You fear what you don't know. Always, you feel the unknown. The thing is that if and is this you have to think about. This is how when people were in the offices in the 80s or 70s, and when the computer came to the offices. This is something like that, or when the internet came, or when the electricity hit. That's gonna be something like that. That's gonna touch everything. Nothing's gonna be the same. So we either are in with the program, or we're gonna. I remember that a friend of mine defined it perfectly. It's a tsunami. So you better learn how to swim, or you better build like a very deep bunker. But that's how you choose, or you're gonna, or it's gonna take you. So and because this is once the genie is out of the box, you're not gonna be able to put it back in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't have to fear it. There's a lot of things good that has been done today, research, medicine, helping doctors, helping nurses, helping surgeries. So there's a lot of good things coming up. There, of course, there's gonna be bad things too, but it's like everything. It's like the internet. When the internet came, everybody thought, "Oh, this is gonna be fantastic. Everybody's gonna be talking to each other. It's gonna be the best." But of course, as a tool made by human beings, it's not gonna be perfect. It's gonna have issues. So this is the same thing. It's going to be a wonderful tool. It is a wonderful tool. No, it's going to be. It is already a wonderful tool. The thing is that you have to get on with the program and learn and read and try to use it to do good. And that's about it. And the governments will, and the law will come along. And then, but the most important thing I think we need to be very aware of is how big companies and big tech are going to use it. That for me, the only thing I worry a little bit. But at the end of the day, we live in a society where people don't really take everything for granted. I remember I saw it in COVID. There was a lot of pushback everywhere when the lockdowns and you have to wear a mask and people rebel like a lot everywhere. So and that was a health issue. This is not a health issue.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just a tool. So I don't think people have to be worried or scared about. What they need to know is to get informed. It's like everything. You only get scared of what you don't know. That's what you fear. Once you get to know things, they can become less scary.
Okay. Earlier in the interview, you said y'all put out books that frequently, but you said this project you want to put out for the whole trade. So let's say this gets funded and whatnot. When can we expect like the other ones to come out?
We want to have the second one before Christmas, hopefully, fingers crossed. Latest maybe January, and the other two next year. So like spring-ish, summer-ish, and autumn, winterish. That's the schedule we have. Like 2 a year. That's what we want to release, more or less. So yeah.
How many pages is each segment?
32.
Okay, pretty good.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a long, extended single issue. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have like an end goal with your books? Like what you plan on doing with your books? Like
The end goal is I remember that we have this when we have this meeting with all the artists and the publisher and everyone, and they say, "What's the end goal?" It says, "Conquer the world, man." That's the end goal. That's we want to make an animation out of it. We want to make toys. We want to make a movie. We want to make an adaptation. Yeah, the goal is no end. Want to do I want to copy Disney. Do it once, sell it forever. That's what I want to do.
Okay. All right. That's all I got. I guess give people one more pitch to your Kickstarter before you go.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, if you like Matrix, if you like Ghost in the Shell, if you have Akira, if you like Mad Max, you're gonna love this book. It's beautifully illustrated by a wonderful classic artist. It's a one-of-a kind opportunity. But you have original pages. You have things that you're going to be available in the Kickstarter. I highly recommend that you go and check it out. we're gonna have things as low as like $5, so not gonna break your bank. If you want to break your bank, there's gonna be things to break your bank too. No worries. But celebrity love, we don't make this to become rich. We just want to put it out there, So and we want to know how many people really want to read it, to be excited about, because we are incredibly excited about it. It's something I took years to do, to write, to illustrate. So, and I think you're gonna love it. I don't want to be self modest here, but it's one of my best things that I put out there, and everything like from the cover, that's a really international artist, really well known, to the inner pages, a fantastic artist. The script is something I've been working for a long time, so I think you're gonna love it. Imagine my idea. We want to copy Pixar when Pixar was good, not now, before it was bought by Disney. It was good. Like, hey, the kids are gonna love it because they're gonna see a lot of things they're gonna be identified, but the parents are the one who will really enjoy it because they're gonna see everything that's behind it, the inner jokes and the reference. Yeah, they're gonna get the whole picture. So it's gonna be a nice book.
Okay.
So go check it out.
All right. And my last segment is called Digging the Crates. I just go back and like comb through stuff in interview, like digging through crates. In the comic book store, you're looking for them Batman, Sandman books, and as well as that same box, you're looking for the Wu Tang and the Nas albums and whatnot. So I'm combing through this interview. You said you wrote so many things. So being a writer, just you go backstage one day and you find a time machine, and you can go at any time period you want to, and be the same type of writer you are. Doing the animation, the comics, the theater stuff.
Okay.
What area? What time frame would you go back to and be a writer?
Oof. Wow. Okay. What time frame? That's a good one. I would probably go to Greece. I would like to meet some of those cats.
I
Like
guess.
for real.
I guess back in
Yeah.
the Empire days.
Yeah, the BC, so 1000 BC or 200 BC, because depending on the time that I would like to meet Plato and Socrates and Aristotle and Marcus Aurelius, and because those are really interesting cats, really interesting cats.
So
Really,
being a writer and a poet, would it be easy for you to write an epic?
probably, you know that the Greek have this idea of theater as catharsis, so
Okay.
they did it to exercise the demons. That's what they did. Theater was not this cultish thing, or philosophy is the same thing. Philosophy was now, this is only for really intellectuals and no, the opposite. So people do philosophy on the street, on the square, on the town square. People do theater on the street for everybody, free. So everybody see themselves and get reflected through that. So that's the pinnacle of a civilization for sure. And a lot of those things that did 2,000, 3,000 years ago, we still are talking and seeing today. With all the technology, with all the phones, with all the screens, with whatever you want to call it, but we still see a lot of the same topics. And we still, and I understand art in that way. That art needs to be something that, it's beautiful to see and wonderful and aesthetic and all that. But it's also not something that needs to move something inside of you, that need to remove you, need to go to your heart and shake it.
Okay.
So you express, you see yourself reflected in those characters, and you say, oh, okay, yeah, I understand why this, I understand why that. That was so Shakespeare was so successful, because he understood that. He took these very big figures like kings and religious figures, and he talks about betrayal and death and being too greedy, and so all this the universal themes, and what he did is just he put it into context that everybody can understand, everybody could enjoy, from the person that doesn't know how to read and write in that area, all the way to the king.
Okay.
So everybody understand, everybody liked it. So because there was something for everyone. So that way he makes them so successful, is understanding that give layers to everything you do. For example, I always say that my idol is Charles Dickens, because Charles Dickens is the first writer in history that can be known as the first professional writer. He made his living out of everything he wrote. He wasn't sponsored. He didn't have a king or a duke or something, or the church giving him money. It was his reader, the reader of the newspaper, that he published his stories.
Okay.
And later, when he copied into novels, so because he understood that, hey, I'm doing this for these people who read me, and I need to keep them entertained. But I also know that the fathers read to their sons, so I have to give something that their sons are interested to, so everybody's hooked. So it was kind of like the radio back in the days, those kind of publications. So he understood that and said, okay, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna roll with it, and he's eternal. So that's important to really get to know your background, and also what the classic is and why they are classics, and exploit that and use the new tools to your advantage, to keep telling those stories. So
Okay.
I think it's a compilation of all that.
All right. That's cool. That's cool. I didn't know that about Charles Dickens, so you taught me something just then.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool cat, that one. Very cool cat, and it has fantastic, because everybody know like Oliver Twist and blah blah blah, and he always writing about orphans, but that's not really. He was mainly writing about the Industrial Revolution. That's what he was writing about for reals,
Okay.
because that's what when he lived, and he saw poverty, and he saw how a lot of people were left out, and we saw a lot of misery, and he wrote about that. And that's why the majority of his characters, main characters, are really poor people who are struggling, but he made them very entertaining. He didn't make them. He didn't pity them. He didn't make them victims. He made them like, hey, this is what the life throws at you, but I know you're not be able to make it. And his works are beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful. I highly recommend it. He was a fantastic writer, man. Really good.
Yeah. All right, man. That's the end of the show. It's been great. If people want to follow you and support you on this project you're doing, or want to follow you later on, if they listen to this after the Kickstarter is over, what can they do that at?
Easiest way is the website, unpopstudio.com. That's unpopstudio.com, Unpop Studio. Or you can go to the Kickstarter, as I mentioned before, Pinochia, or we have an URL is unpopulartales.com. So any of those, we are everywhere. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, Threads, TikTok,
Okay.
YouTube, podcast, everywhere. So by Unpopular Tales, Unpopular Comics, you can find us, I think, quite easily.
All right, man. It's been great, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Specks. It's been a pleasure, the interview and being in your program, man. I highly appreciate it. Thank you, bro.
You're welcome. You're welcome.